Hello again. Moving forward, he was married to Carol Henning for some time. She really wanted to have kids with him, Steinbeck. However, he was very focused on his writing. And, we don't meet people the way perhaps people meet one another or met one another back in the 1960s. This is Ed Ricketts, somebody that Steinbeck met in the waiting area of a dentist's office. And he actually became a huge inspiration to Steinbeck. He's a marine biologist who wrote extensively about the wildlife, or the creatures that lived along the Pacific Ocean, specifically in the tidal areas of the ocean. And Steinbeck was influenced so much by this, he wrote a book called Cannery Row, in which Ed Ricketts is a character. He's in many of Steinbeck's books as a character. His name is Doc in Cannery Row. And Steinbeck sort of used this influence to allegorically write about humanity. That people were very much like these tiny organisms that come in and out as the tides and the days pass. So Ed Ricketts was a large influence on Steinbeck, and you'll find if you read other novels that perhaps there are Doc-like characters that embrace this sort of wildlife. And certainly, if you read through part two of Travels with Charlie, you'll see that there's a great deal of sympathy, compassion for those who bend to the earth, who live off the land. This is certainly something that we saw in Of Mice and Men, people who are wandering, looking for farmland, looking for a place to work and a way to sort of feed themselves and their families. Certainly the migrant workers of San Joaquin are no different. And they were of more backgrounds than just singularly white. They were actually from all over the world. There were Filipino migrant workers, Chinese migrant workers, Mexican migrant workers. So there are even more. I couldn't mention them all, but certainly this is something that added to the sympathies that Steinbeck had in his writing, and certainly the way that he started to embrace things at the end of Travels with Charlie. You'll see during desegregation in the South. He won the Pulitzer Prize for The Grapes of Wrath in 1938. He had high acclaim. Carol was done with him because he really was spending way too much time with his writing and less with her, and she didn't want kids. Of course, then he met a jazz singer. Her name was Gwyn Conger in New York, and next thing you know, he had two children with Gwyn Conger. So he may have had some strange allegiances, but keep in mind this is 1938. So this was a time when there was still quite a bit of friction and challenge when it comes to the feminist movement and so forth. There were a lot of FBI investigations against him because he was writing so much about small farms. People started to listen, and then they started to think, well, he has no support. There's no support for larger farming industries. He liked the little guy. So his sort of revealing of the type of injustice and oppression that was going on among farmers was something that he revealed in The Grapes of Wrath. Um, and so after this, he didn't like this acclaim. It was drawing too much attention toward him. He was already a shy, if we recall, somewhat funny-looking guy when he was a child, when he was young. So he did not like this attention, and so he sort of removed himself from many things and went to return to Ed Ricketts as somebody who would influence his future writing. Um, Later, he then abandoned his family, his children, and Gwyn Conger to go uh, to become a correspondent during World War II, which was something that greatly impacted his well being and his writing. Certainly, as you can see from this slide, some of the sort of grotesque details that he's written that were not going to be revealed by a lot of press until later in his life. Okay, I'll continue one more video.